Hey everyone, I'm Greg and I have a YouTube channel called Life Where I'm From and this channel called Life Where I'm From X. X which stands for experimental, extra, all the stuff, blah blah blah. But really it's just become my extra channel to put anything that's unpolished out there onto YouTube. So my channel is mostly about Japanese culture despite the name Life Where I'm From. One day I'd like to change that so it's really more about life around the world, but hey, it's a life where I'm from in Japan kind of channel, really. Let's be honest here. And before I waste too much of your time, the TLDW of this video, too long didn't watch, is that if you have a question about Japan, Google it. I don't know. Of course, I have my laptop over here, and doing the word count, it says it's about 20 minutes of stuff that I've written. So I have more than that to talk about. But really, that is my thing is I probably don't have that great of an answer in comparison to all the knowledge you can find out there online. So Google it. I would also like to say is that this video, despite all my writing, it's going to be really rough because to do a really polished video would take me about 4 times the amount of time, maybe even 5 or 8 times the amount of time or whatever it is. So I apologize for that. And I'll be looking constantly at my laptop. But without further ado, I get lots of questions about Japan, and I find they mostly fall into 2 categories. And that is category 1, questions you can easily Google. And, I think it kind of sounds flippant to say, and I apologize for this. But there are so many questions I get that you could really just get a really decent answer by Googling it. And honestly, probably better information. Most questions I get are of this type. And question 2, questions that would take a research paper to answer. You can still Google this information and find it online. There's so much great stuff online, but there's tons of bad stuff online. The problem. But so the answers out there, but they're not simple answers to get, and they're not maybe obvious answers to get. It could take you days, weeks, or months of research to answer. And if you've never been on the ground in Japan or have, real Japanese people to talk to or academics, it could be hard to get a good, solid answer for your question. And I get these on occasion, these types of questions, but due to the nature of the question, I can't just quick fire you an answer or even just quickly put my thoughts or say I'm working on a video about this because it takes time to even explain that. And your question was probably fairly complicated to start off with. Now, I said there's mostly 2 categories, but there's a 3rd category, and that's kind of like, whoo, a nice good category, which is questions I can easily answer and that I think I actually have a decent answer to. And these are by far the minority. And to tell the truth, if they're in this category, I've probably already answered it in my roughly 150 videos between this Life Where I'm From and the Life Where I'm From, or this is the Life Where I'm From X channel and the other main Life Where I'm From channel. Yeah, but so here's the big problem for me with questions, answering them, is that, well, first of all, I should say I'm really humbled by all the questions. I really am. I still find it amazing that people are asking me all these things. You're putting way too much faith in me, too much respect for me there, asking me these questions. Yeah. So there's that. But I also want to say that I really feel terrible for not answering all of the questions. I really would like to, because a big point of this channel is to help people out, and I don't get enough opportunity to respond to all the people that watch a video and have a question. Because that's really what I love about being on YouTube, is having that interaction and seeing people's reactions to my work and asking questions, wanting to know more, and then there I go and just ignore the vast majority of questions I get. Yeah, it's kind of... And by the way, I have a monitor here that I can see, and this chair thing, I was trying to get it even, and it's really bugging me that it's not even, and now it's going to bug you, but I'm stuck against my desk over here, so I can't go any further, and the other chair I have squeaks like crazy if I use it, the one without any back, so you're stuck with this uneven setup. Aesthetically non-pleasing, I know. Okay, so now the thing is, the reason I do want to answer people's questions is because even though I know some things are easy to Google, trusting whatever site you get led to is super difficult to do. And but how do you know when that answer on Google is a good answer or if it's a bad answer? Um, and I'm like one of the big reasons I started making videos on YouTube is because I'd see other videos or I'd see news articles or posts on blogs or on forums about Japan, coming from some, self-appointed Japanese authority, kind of like me, where I'm just like, huh, that just doesn't seem right. That doesn't jive with my experience in Japan. And I have to point out, my experience is only one single person's experience. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt and do your own research. I think that's probably the key to this video is do your own research. Don't trust anyone or anything you see online to a certain extent. Okay, so when I say, Google it, I kind of feel like I'm throwing you to the wolves because you don't know whether you can trust the answer or not. So part of the point of this video now, and the video does have a point, beyond saying Google it, is I'm going to go through those three categories of questions and try to give you tips on how to get your own answer to it without relying on me, which I'm very unreliable to respond to your questions. Okay, so when I say Google, I mean do an online search. And I think there are certain sites that will lead to better results to the types of questions I get. Tea break. And one of the most helpful and least helpful places I can send you to is Reddit. And kind of the main, most popular subreddit on Reddit is r Japan. And I know a lot of you know how Reddit works, but I'm going to explain to the total beginner who knows nothing about Reddit. And so I'd like to say, when you say Reddit, you might think of it like a general site or even a news site like, say, New York Times or Japan Times or something like that. But it's not really like that because there's no single person that makes Reddit. And all the posters can be essentially anonymous. And there's many different subreddits. So I would like to think of, the subreddits, they're all like different topics. So for Japan, you have r Japan, which is the main or most popular subreddit. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job of explaining. I'm very sorry. But there's r Japan Travel for travel related questions. There's r Japan Pics for posting all your Japanese pics. There's r Translator for posting your translation requests. I guess that's not Japan specific. There's r Learn Japanese. If you want to learn Japanese, that's a great place to go because that's what it's designed to do. There's r Japan Life, and this is for people actually living in Japan and you want to know things from like jobs to school, stuff like that. So more serious questions, or just getting things done in Japan questions. There's are moving to Japan. So these are people before you come to Japan even. These are questions about how do I, get to Japan and stay here. And there's are teaching in Japan for people interested in teaching in Japan. And wait, is there another one? Oh, Japan. No, Japan travel. Never mind. I think that there probably are other Japan ones. I know it's like there's our Japan's Circle Jerk and whatnot. So there are many subreddits on Reddit, like many different places you can go to. And each one of those subreddits is like their own thing. So they'll have a different type of community, different posters, and the response you'll get to your questions or the quality information you'll get to your questions will greatly differ. Yeah, so the trick is going, first of all, to the right subreddit, reading the sidebar of rules, and there are rules for every single subreddit, and they're all different, and like figuring what those are, and knowing how to search. Because if you have a question, probably someone has already answered it, and some subreddits tend to get a little bit upset if you ask a question that's already been answered like 100 times, and that happens. So it can be intimidating because you don't want to make people upset by doing that. You don't want to break the rules, but you still want to ask a question, and you don't want to feel like attacked by asking a question. Anyway, so let's say you found the right subreddit because you're moving to Japan and you want to know about the job situation or finding a place to rent. That's probably a good subreddit to go to but you want to search it. So you go to the search, thing in Reddit, and you might find the results aren't too great, because I think searching on Google for Reddit posts is actually a better way to do it. But how do you do it? So in Google, you would type site, I think semicolon, is that the right word for it? I don't think it's colon, semicolon, reddit.com/r/moving to Japan, and, type in what you'd like to search. Or you'd go to, site, semicolon, reddit.com/r/Japan Life. And in this case, I'll search bullying. That's a question I often get, and it's a complicated question, but I think you can get an answer to it. So, and here we go. We have articles from real people living in Japan talking about their experiences of their kids in Japanese schools, whether it's international schools or public schools. And I mean, the general answer I think you'll find is it really depends on the school you're in, even how your kid looks, the personality of your kid, how you've raised your kid. It could depend on the principal, on the teacher, on the makeup of the particular class. There's all these variables. The one generalization I can make is bullying, as far as I know, happens in schools all over the world. My personal anecdotal experience between Canada and Japan is that the bullying levels seem fairly similar. And I think my experiences has been the principals and the teachers do take it seriously, but kids be kids, and it's sometimes really hard to control bullying. So yeah, but yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm not trying to answer specific questions in this video. But that's the general answer you'd get probably if you looked up a lot of, bullying in Japan. But if you looked at news articles, you might hear some really, bad statistics and problems. And there are problems, definitely, but there are also problems probably in every country in the world. So, yeah. Now, if you want to broaden your search, you can type in a more general search term like just Reddit, Japan, school bullying, and you'll get more than just the Japan Life subreddit results. And that will probably net you some good stuff too. So I'd probably try those two searches. And Reddit is probably good for getting, I guess, real people's opinions. But also, you have no clue who's posting things. So how do you trust that person? And do they have a hidden agenda? Are they trolling you? Are they really bitter and want to talk about it? Are they really over positive about something? You just never know why people do things online, like their motivations behind it. So now I can spend a whole video talking about how to search online, but that's not the point of this video. But there are things you can do on Google to help your search. And if you actually Google how to Google, you'll find search results that will give you tricks on how to use different operators, different things you can type in to narrow down your results or exclude results, or to make sure you only include these things. Just better ways to do Google. So yeah, Google how to Google. Very helpful, I know. Okay, but here's the tip. If you're on Reddit and you think R/Japan is the most popular, so the best subreddit to go to for your answers, or to ask a question, I would say in my experience, it's the worst place to go to. It's the most likely place to get like cynicism and just flippant answers and trolls. I'd say go to those specific subreddits like Learn Japanese or Japan Life or Moving to Japan or Japan Travel, because I think the quality of the answers will be better and people are actually going there to learn as opposed to entertainment, which I think R/Japan's probably more for just people getting their kicks. Okay, so category 2, questions that would take a research paper to answer. So I talked about forums, and that's mostly anecdotal information. Who knows if you can trust that or not. Japan Times is the leading English newspaper in Japan. So if you have a topic about Japan, there's probably an article on Japan Times about it. Now, it's only a single source of information, and you just can't, trust anything you read online, even if it's in a newspaper, but at least it's a start, and it's in English. And you're watching this video in English, so I'm assuming you want to find information in English about Japan. And I would hope the answers you can find there are more trustworthy than Reddit. But honestly, it really depends. Sometimes I'd say, wow, I sometimes I know like very specifically a subject, and then I see articles about it or I see posts about it, and then you can really tell that, like it makes you question what you read online because you're like, wow, they totally got it wrong, or this is not at all like it goes against everything that I know about this topic, and maybe I've researched it for a year or two, or maybe I've known this for a long time. Anyways, the second site you can try is the Japanese government, or to be more specific, is the .go.jp sites. These are official Japanese government sites, and they have their policies, their research, and statistics, and they have a lot of this stuff in English. So if you're looking for official government information, it's pretty darn reliable, I would say. Again, the government can play with statistics and they can have their slant on how they want to present things, but it's probably better information than what you'll find on some random Reddit post or from a YouTuber like myself. Okay, of course there are books that you can get. Books written by academics, written by people who've researched a topic for years and years. That's also a good place. However, it's interesting because one of the reasons I make videos is because I did read a lot of books before officially moving to Japan, and I found my experience on the ground differed quite a bit from what I read about in the books. And I think part of the reason is I mean, books, they can generalize things and but you're not a stat, right? You are a single person with a very unique experience. So what you experience might not be all what the general experience is. But probably more the other reason is that even a book's like well researched and done, but say like it was published in the 90s about what it's like working in Japan. That's now how old am I? How long ago was that? 20 something years ago, right? The information could be 20, 30 years old, and it just doesn't fit the reality of what's actually happening today, what the current government policies are, what the current workplace is like. So you also have to take that into consideration when you read books that are heavily researched and dive deep into a topic. It might not be so relevant nowadays. Okay, so now we're into category 3, and I'm just going to reset my camera just to make sure I don't run out of time. All right, category 3, questions I can easily answer and that I think I actually have a decent answer to. And these are most likely questions about things I've personally experienced, or really just my opinions and probably not even hard facts. For real common questions, I've put them on the About page of our website. And yes, lifewhereimfrom.com has a website. I say our website, but it's just my website. It's only me. It's not some big company. It's just me at lifewhereimfrom.com and my family. And so there's an About page. So go to lifewhereimfrom.com, the website, and you can search the videos to find what I've talked about. But there's also an About page where we talk about, personal things like, when did you move to Japan and stuff like that. Actually, you know what? I think I'll make an FAQ page specifically for all the frequently asked questions that are not necessarily about myself or my family. Okay? But let me give you a sampling. Real questions that I get. All right. So, hi, hello. I've seen some of your YouTube videos, which are very helpful. I'm planning 8 days trip to Japan with a friend of mine. I've seen that Tokyo and Kyoto are the places to be. Considering that I have only 8 days, would you recommend going to other cities as well? I was looking at Nara. I'll buy the 7-day rail pass Suica card portable modem. Okay, so you know what? I've tried to answer this question so many times, but I've never successfully made a video about it. I've made several videos about coming to Japan though, as a tourist. Like, what are they? How to survive your first hour in Japan. So it's about, getting fed. Oh, no, wait. No, that's actually just getting off the plane and getting all your basics done. Then I have, can you feed yourself in Japan with no Japanese, which is about getting fed. Then there is where to stay in Japan, which is very obvious for the title. And I've been meaning to make my personal recommendations video about where to travel to. But what stopped me is that a lot of what I'd recommend would reveal where I live because the stuff I know the best is close to where I am, and I can't do that because, yeah, you probably get why. Um, but also, the recommendations would be based on my personality and my personal situation, so they might not be too relevant to you. For example, I have a family, I don't really do night stuff, and I mostly like parks. And my favorite thing about Japan is my favorite hobby is going to onsens or hot springs. So, yeah, so I'd have you visiting a park and then going to a hot spring every day is probably what I would tell you to do. So maybe that's not that great advice for what you're looking for. And honestly, if you look online, like Japan travel is probably the most popular thing written about Japan in English is like what to do in Japan, where to go, your experiences in Japan. There are so many people doing it. Um, yeah, yeah. I've been secretly waiting for the JNTO, which is the Japanese National Tourism Organization, to sponsor me to make a video about it. But so far, no luck. Um, and it's honestly it's really hard to give good travel recommendations unless I know what you're into. And I've done travel recommendations for friends of mine or members who have come, and the whole process usually takes me a few hours to figure something out. So obviously, if every single time I get a question like that, I try to do a real answer back, it would take me a long time, and I just can't do that. Um, but that being said, I really do want to make a video about like what I would do in Tokyo if I had a week, or my top 5 things to do in Tokyo, as well as like, top 5 things to do in Japan or places to go in Japan, and what to do in Japan with families. But there's so many other topics that I have. I have over like 100 topics that I'm working on that it's like anybody can do that. But there are certain topics that I feel that nobody covers, and that's usually what I try to cover. Okay, now next question. Good day. My name is redacted. I'm a 30-year-old living in some place. I really love your show. Could I kindly ask you to do a video on how I can move or find work in Japan? Okay, actually, this is another bad example of questions that I could easily answer. I have no clue about both. And the reason is that I moved here on a spousal visa. And because I've been married to a Japanese citizen for almost 2 decades, it was really easy for me to move to Japan. So I have no tips about that. It's like getting married to a Japanese wife for a long time and then you can move here easily. I mean, yeah, not really good advice. And as for the job thing, I had a spousal visa so I could work any job I wanted to in Japan as long as they'd hire me. But I actually worked online for American and Canadian companies. And then people ask me, well, how did you get that work? Well, the real answer is I had a blog that talked about business stuff, and I wrote about accounting in one of my posts, just one of my posts, and that just took off really crazy. Well, in the accounting world terms, at least, not in YouTube terms. And I got job offers to talk more about accounting and software. And so I was able to do that online for my first few years in Japan. Yeah, but that's not really a good strategy to tell someone, like, oh, write a blog for 3 years, then wait for someone to offer you work after 3 years. No, it's a terrible advice to do. I just did it as a side thing, and that happened to pick up. I was lucky. Now I do YouTube full time. And that's a common question I can actually answer. What do you do full time? I do YouTube full time for since 20. Oh no, I forgot even now. I think it's a year and a half. So it's not 2018, 2017. Like summer of 2017 is when I went full time. It was very scary to do that. And luckily it's been working out so far, but yeah. So if you're asking for job or visa advice from me, it's fairly useless. And the same goes for school advice. I get asked that a lot about my recommendations because my kids go to a regular Japanese school. We didn't even pick a special school. It's just a school in our area. And I think it worked out for us. The kids haven't had any major issues, but they also have my Japanese wife as a mother. So I mean, they spoke Japanese fluently because they spoke Japanese from birth, always. My wife spoke Japanese to kids. I spoke English to the kids. Um, yeah, and they did just fine in school, and they didn't really get bullied because they're hafu, and hafu means you have one Japanese parent and one non-Japanese parent. Um, yeah. Okay, next question. What's the next question? Okay. Hi, I'm moving to Japan in a few weeks, and I just wanted to know your advice on something as you live in Tokyo. Which IC card would you recommend to someone living for a year in Japan? The Suica or Passmo card? And my answer is that they're essentially both the same, so it really doesn't matter. Go with whichever one you can find first. Um, but you know what's kind of funny about this question is I actually responded to that, and that's what I answered. But I mean, the caveat is that if you get a Japanese smartphone, I think Suica is probably the better card to get because you might be able to load it onto your phone, and then like tap to pay and auto reload it with a credit card type of thing. I actually don't have a Japanese phone, so I've never done this, but I always wanted to be able to just use my phone and do away with the cards. But I mean, they're essentially the same card, and if you pick up the wrong card, I mean, you can just get it back for a full refund. So it's a pretty low risk thing. So just, yeah, get whatever card you want. And it works for most areas in Japan. That card will work in Kyoto, it'll work in Osaka, it'll work in, Hiroshima, it'll work, all over the place for most things, right? But always bring cash because it's Japan, you always want to have cash. Okay, so those are all bad examples actually of category 3 questions. And I didn't realize it before I wrote all this stuff, but I didn't want to have to pick new examples, so yeah. But actually, I did think of something that I can answer, only I can answer that people ask, and that I actually get asked often, which is which camera gear I use. And actually, I put this in the description of every single video, and I made, I think kit.com, I made like a page of all the equipment I use, although it's gotten outdated. So before I post this video, I'll go there and I'll update it, and I'll put in there like the reason why I use the gear. I think I even made a video about the cameras I use and the microphones I use, but I didn't finish out that series of all the equipment because I'm always changing my stuff. But yeah, I have them there. And honestly, this video is not to plug the kit or the Amazon links because they're affiliate links. So I get paid a certain percentage if you go and buy that thing. But yeah, it's listed out there. So that's fine. I don't mind answering questions like that. But so that's why I created the kit thing so you can see everything I have. And the reason I use affiliates is because, I mean, it doesn't cost the buyer anything. You don't have to buy from Amazon. You can go buy it wherever you want. You can even just use your own link and whatever. But I mean, if you're going to buy it anyways, you might as well get that tiny percentage that comes back to me through Amazon. I don't really make any money off of it, but a few dollars I get every month is like kind of bonus money, so it's cool. Okay, so what is the point of this video? Long-winded, and I just say Google it and hey, use my affiliate links. Yeah. What is the point? Let's see. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's it's really I wanted to say I actually search Reddit and those few sources of places. You can find some decent answers to a lot of the questions I get asked. But it's also just kind of saying I would really love to help everyone that asks me a question. But the truth is that I easily get overwhelmed. I don't think I'm really that popular. And I don't get that many questions, but like I get a few messages a day on like whether it's email or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube comments. Well, actually, sorry, YouTube comments I'd get, that could be even like 100 a day or something, or 50 a day. I don't know. But on the other platforms like direct messages, yeah, maybe like 3 a day. But if you extrapolate that to a month, that's going to be like 100 a month. So yeah. And sometimes people are not even asking questions. They're just writing a nice message to me like, hey, thanks. You inspired me to come to Japan, and I've been thinking about this. You really helped out, or this research on this particular video was great, blah, blah, blah. Really nice stuff, really kind stuff. And you'll write like 5 paragraphs. And then but it's, what do I say? Like, thanks for sharing your story. All the best, Greg. Sometimes I do that, but it feels, to give a proper answer, I think it would take me time to do it because you put your heart into that message, and then I'm just saying, oh, thanks, bye. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel I again I feel bad about it because it's exactly it's weird. It's exactly what I want to see. I want to see people moved by what I make, and then I don't even answer, you know. Um, I don't know. Would you be happy with that kind of response if you wrote like 5 paragraphs? Would you just be happy for a response, or would you rather I not respond at all if I'm just going to say like a one word thing, or like a one sentence thing back? Let me know. Um, okay, but actually, I do try to do that. It might take me sometimes a month to do that, but I do try to do that for those heartfelt things. Just even give a simple like one sentence answer. But the reason I don't do it right away is because of concentration. I just when I'm working on projects, I find I do my best work when I solely focus on a single video for like a week or two. I can take like a year sometimes putting together a video, but when it really comes down to like editing and publishing that video, I just need to have that focus sometimes, and that means not like just any duties I have, whether at home or to the online community. It's I ignore everything except the urgent, like I have to deal with this right now stuff, and I know that's just how it is, and I haven't found a better solution to it. And even when I do that, I feel like I'm kind of getting like snowballed in by the weight of all these unanswered messages and all these things that I think I should be doing. Um, yeah. Now, this video was totally not made to plug my Patreon, but I do have a special Q&A like Patreon level where I'll guarantee you an answer, and sometimes the answer, honestly, it takes me like a month to answer your question, so it's not necessarily a quickly answered question. But I do have that. And by the way, Patreon, just to explain, it's a completely optional way to provide monthly financial support to me for the videos that I make. And it's really only for people that can afford to do so. I want to make that absolutely clear. And honestly, you're also not missing out on much if you're not supporting. And I know that's a horrible pitch for attracting patrons to Patreon. And I think it's an even more terrible thing to say to people who already are on Patreon, but it's the truth. Anything I post to Patreon, anything that's good at least, with the exception of a few things, will probably one day filter its way down to the public anyways. Um, Maybe the thing that's probably the most you won't see in public is my monthly updates, which is like at the $1 level, you get that. And that's just kind of like what's going on. Every month I'll do an update. And honestly, that's probably better for me than anyone else because it kind of just helps me think about what has happened in the past month and what I'm looking forward to in the next month. So it's, yeah. Anyways, um, but to explain that choice on Patreon is because I was never in the financial position to support people on a platform like Patreon until the last couple of years. I just didn't have the extra money to do so, and so I understand that there's so many people who can't afford to support me on Patreon. I don't want them to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel guilty if you can't do that. And I just didn't want like the reason I make videos is to connect with people, to try to inform people, educate people, maybe entertain people, do all these types of things, communicate. And if I'm making it exclusive to only people who have money, I mean, that's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel good, So, yeah, that's why I do it. But then why am I on Patreon? It's because I make money off of AdSense. That's how YouTube works, right? You see a video, you see an ad, I get like, I don't even know how much I get per ad, but it's really low. Like, I think people think you make a lot more money on YouTube than you actually do. And it can be really unstable. You can make twice the amount of money next month and then like half or a quarter of that money the following month. It's like it goes up and down based on things out of your control, and it's not guaranteed. So Patreon is a really great thing because it's a stable form of income I can count on from month to month. It doesn't vary that much. And yeah, but it's also a way just to kind of connect with the community as well. So it's I really like my patrons. Thank you so much. Yeah, and actually, the reason you have this video right now is because I owe my patrons a Q&A video, and this is my catch-all Q&A video, and that I will post publicly. So there you go. It's thanks to Patreon, or thanks to patrons, supporters on Patreon. Yeah. Okay. But here's something I thought of while writing this big long thing is, what do you want to know? What question do you have? And I just said, kind of, don't ask me questions, Google it. But I mean, I think if you've watched this much, I think it earns you the right to ask a question. Actually, I'll make another caveat to that, is if you've watched it this much and you're within 24 hours of posting this video, if you answer a question, I'll try my best to give a reply, even if it's a I don't know, or just thanks, or like a smiley face or something. I'll try to do that. And I'm putting the 24-hour time limit because, I mean, I have to like move on and go on to the next project, because I seriously have like, I think 6 videos right now that are unedited that I have to get to. And I have 100 more video ideas that are like in the to-do list, and I have probably 10 projects that are actively, like, I'm working with people trying to set it up. So yeah, I gotta, like, I mean, I think my main purpose is to create more content. So there's only so much time I can spend, answering things. Yeah, but maybe another thing you could do is, even though I have like 100 video ideas and I've done surveys where I've gotten like thousands of ideas, maybe it might be interesting to see if this works, and I don't know if it will, is if you write down the idea for what video or topic kind of videos that you'd like to see, put it down in the comment, and if other people see that and you thumb it up, I just want to know if it's actually what those videos would be. I'd be curious. I've never tried this. So try that. And now I am going to make dinner for the kids because the wife is away. And by the way, sorry, that's actually something I should address, is people always think, like, ask, like, oh, are you a single dad or something like that? Like, why is your wife not on camera, or blah, blah, blah. Like my wife and I are good. We're solid. She's always here. She's with the kids. And when I'm filming, she's probably always there behind the scenes. She just doesn't like being on camera. That's just her thing. And I know so many of you respect that, so thank you so much. It's all good. But yes, I am currently married. Everything's good. Yay. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's it. Yeah, I have to go. Oh, I have to go answer like a lot of these questions because I just finished editing a couple of videos. That's why I have the time to do this one. And I'm going to answer a whole bunch of messages. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.